Welcome. In this video I'm going to work on removing this corrosion from the battery terminal on my 2016 Subaru Outback. So I'll be using some different products in this video, and if you find this video helpful and want to purchase some of those products, I'll put a link in the description to those on Amazon, and if you use those links it helps me out a little bit. It doesn't cost you anything extra. So this isn't a comprehensive video on battery maintenance, and this stuff can be kind of dangerous, so I wouldn't use this as your only source on working on your battery. I'm just showing you how I do it. But you would probably want to look at the factory service manual or other guides to know all of the safety things. So I have mine plugged into a battery maintainer, so I'm going to unplug that. And that could be potentially why it's causing the corrosion too. Maybe it's overcharging a little bit. It's hard to say. This battery is 5 years old now at least, I think. So it's getting to be about time to change, but I don't drive this car very often, so I haven't rushed out and changed it. Now when you disconnect a battery, it can wipe out the memory of your clock, which is probably the least of your worries. It can wipe out your radio memory, so you might have to reset that. It can also reset the computer on the car, so it may not drive well. You can get battery saver devices that you clip on here to retain the memory. I'm not using one of those, but if your car is prone to having issues with the battery being disconnected, you might want to use one of those devices. So the positive terminal is red, the negative terminal is black, and I don't have any corrosion on the negative terminal, so it might seem like I could just leave that and just disconnect the positive terminal. But you should always remove the negative terminal if you're ever going to do anything with the positive terminal. The reason being is if you put a wrench on here and you were to wrench back and forth and you were to bridge it between the positive and the ground somewhere on the car, that could cause a big spark. It could cause a fire. It's not a safe thing to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the negative terminal. I'm using a 10mm wrench here. Well, that's one tool. Probably my favorite tool is a 1/4" ratchet with a 10mm deep socket on it. That works well for taking off batteries. So I'll remove the negative terminal. I'll make sure it's out of the way. I'll see if my socket fits in here. And it doesn't fit very well. Switch back to my wrench. I'll give it a little wiggle to get it off. Sometimes you need to pry up on it a little bit. You need to be careful you don't crack anything or break something. If this is broken due to corrosion, you're going to want to get a new cable. And you can get a new cable end. You can try that if you think that'll work for you. If it's not too hard, it's not a bad idea to replace a whole cable. Okay, I have that off. I'm just going to wipe away some of this corrosion with a paper towel. I have a toothbrush here. I can brush some of this away. That got quite a bit of it, but I do want to spray this with a corrosion cleaner. I don't know if this one's available on Amazon. If it's not, I'll put a different one on here. So I'll just spray this on, and this will foam up. Another alternative you can do is use some baking soda and water. Just mix it together, pour it on here, and then brush it, and that will clean it. And that works very well. And if you have a lot of corrosion, you may not be able to see how good your terminal is until you get it cleaned off. And you might see that it ate away quite a bit of your terminal, and the terminal is just no longer strong enough to hold onto the battery. So I see there's some corrosion on the bottom here. It's kind of flicking away. So now I can rinse this with water. Then you need to let it dry. I'm just going to be using some QD electronic cleaner instead, and I'll just spray this on here if I have enough. I'm running low. So that dries very quickly. You should do this in a well-ventilated area. I'm in my garage because it gets windy outside and it's cold. But if the fumes get heavy, I'll just open the door. I'm just going to wipe off some of this excess here. It looks like there might be a little bit of corrosion still there. Okay, so I'm about ready to put the terminal back on. So I'm going to be using some different products here. So this is the NOCO NCP2 Corrosion Preventative Protectors. And these are battery rings is what we used to call them when I worked in a shop. And I chose these over some of the others because they are oil-based, I guess they say. I guess you can kind of tell they're good here because the seal on here, it was kind of leaking. So you can see it was kind of dissolving through here. So these are kind of gooey. I used to replace batteries professionally, and these are the style of rings we used to use. They were like oil-based like this. They weren't the dry ones, and they worked incredibly well. So I'll take one of these and I'll put it on the terminal like so. Actually, before I do that, you want to take a battery terminal brush. I always clean battery terminals anytime I disconnect them. So I'll clean the terminal. Let's put that on there, give it a few turns. It's pretty clean already, so it didn't take much. And I'll put the ring on there. You can take these rings apart if you have side mount terminals. Those aren't as common. They used to be very common on GM cars, but you don't see those much anymore. I'll get the -2. And this container has 50, and you can seal it. So I'll seal this up really good. I'm eventually probably going to put these on my other cars, and I'm not a professional here, so I have family members that get batteries or have corrosion. I'll put one on their car. You don't have to wait till you have a problem to use these. These are good to use ahead of time. So I'm going to keep these sealed up real tight, and then hopefully they'll last me a while so I can use them in the future. So I'm going to want to clean the inside of these two with this brush. Now I found these brushes on these kind of inside-outside battery terminal cleaners. These brushes go bad a lot earlier than these. So you can buy a separate just brush with a handle on it for the inside terminals. And that's what I used to use when I did this for a living. I had a specific brush for that because this thing wore out quick. But this one's still in pretty decent shape. I'll just go in here and clean it a little bit. So along with these rings, I'm going to be using this brush on NCP2 Battery Corrosion Preventative. It says Ultra Premium Oil-Based Proven Formula, and it has a brush here. It's pretty thick. So in the past I've used sprays, and I wanted to use this so I could get it around the terminal a little bit better. I can apply it to the whole thing. So before I even put this on, I'm going to brush some around the bottom. I don't want to put this on the mating surfaces where the terminal is, but I can brush it on the bottom here. I think I did get a slight bit on there, but I don't think it's going to cause a problem. Okay, so I have that on here now. I'll tighten this terminal down. And now I can take this brush here and I can coat the rest of this. And this is where a spray would probably come in handy. So it might help to use the spray and the brush on. But I'll just brush this on here. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. So now I can put the cover on. Actually, I do leave the hood open on mine because I run the trickle charger on it and I just close it when I drive it. So I'll probably leave this off and put it on later, but I could put it on right now probably. So I'll do the same thing with the negative terminal. Now it's a different shape, so I'm not as concerned about the corrosion on the bottom, so I'll just put it on and I'll tighten it down. When I put a battery clamp on like this, you're making the connection and you're turning a lot of things on. So I like to do it quickly. I put it on there, I make sure it's down all the way, and I tighten it down. I don't want to take it on and off. It could spark and things like that. So I can hear my car making noise right now. Okay, I have that tight. And I'll paint this on here. So you may also have corrosion on your battery clamp. You can replace those if it's really bad. You can alternatively just clean it with the corrosion preventive and a wire brush and then put this on it. I say the corrosion preventive, the corrosion cleaner, and then put the preventative on it afterwards. But I didn't really have corrosion on this negative side here, so this probably isn't quite as important. Okay, so there we go. So since I disconnected the battery, that probably reset the computer, so it may drive a little bit weird. So I'll go take this on a drive later and I'll get it up to highway speeds. I don't know exactly how fast you have to drive it to reset the computer on this, but it usually just does it on its own. You can Google on how to do it. Sometimes you have to drive it up to like 45 miles an hour for 15 minutes or something like that. There's different ways for different car computers, but like I said, with my car, I'm not too worried about that. There could be other cars that are more finicky with that. I know with my Honda, I have a 2006 Honda Civic. If you disconnect the battery, you have to enter in a code to get the radio working. But hopefully this solves my corrosion problem that I've been having. I have the exact same issue on my other Subaru Outback, so I'll be doing that next. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.